We have started talking about solving equations. So the first thing I want us to do is in our journal, we are going to write down our solving equations steps. And then we're going to do a foldable to elaborate on that. But I want you to have these steps because as we get into section 2, 3, and 2, 4, they're going to come in very good handy for us. So on this first page, we have 5 basic steps that we will follow when we're solving equations and inequalities. So we're going to keep referring to these all year long. And the first step is to always check to see if we can distribute. And if you recall, the distributive property says that when you have a number or a letter outside of the parentheses, you need to distribute or multiply it on everything inside so that you can write that product. And the second step is going to be to collect like terms. We did this in our review page. Remember, when we are collecting like terms, we are only adding or subtracting like variables or regular numbers, right? X's with X's, Y's with Y's, regular numbers with regular numbers. Our third step is what we're going to talk about tonight, is we need to move our variables to one side. So today we're going to look at equations where you may have 3x plus 5 equals 2x minus 6. And we need to move our variables all on the same side. And we do this very much like collecting like terms by adding and subtracting. And then step 4 and 5 are what you've learned in 6th and 7th grade. So we're going to do our inverse operation, add, subtract, and then our inverse operation, multiply, divide. So we're going to elaborate on number 2 and 3 tonight with our foldable, and then in class tomorrow we'll continue with that. So I'm going to set my journal aside, and if you'll look at the foldable you picked up in class today, so you can see that I've folded it not all the way in half, right? You want to see your title here, and then you can cut just on this dotted line. So we're going to talk about the differences between variables on the same side. This is also known as collecting like terms. And when you have variables on opposite sides. So let's review variables on the same side first. I'm not going to do all of these with you. I'll let you do a couple and we can reconvene tomorrow. So you can see here, if I was to draw a line at my equals, I have 3 x's and I have 2 x's. Remember, the sign in front of the number goes with it. So I can put these together to simplify this. So now when I have 3 x's plus 2 x's, I have 5 x's. I cannot put my negative 4 with that. It is a regular number, so those are not like terms, equals 36. And then going back to our notes, step 4, undo the add, subtract, and then undo the multiply, divide. And that step should be very familiar to you from 6th and 7th grade. So this is stating that our solution, the x value is 8, which means if I put 8 in place of both of the x's, I would get 24 minus 4 plus 16. So 20 plus 16 is in fact 36. I know I did it correctly. On example 2, you'll notice that we actually have 2 sets of like terms. I have regular numbers and I have x's. Notice that, again, the sign in front of the number goes with it. So this is 12 x's minus 3 x's, which is 9 x's. And then I have 9 plus 5 is 14. And once you've done that step, now it looks like what we're used to. Undo the add, subtract. Now, these are the same. So if you think way back to 6th grade integer rules, we're going to add them. So 63 and keep the sign. And then we're going to undo our multiply divide. And negative divided by a positive is in fact a negative. So here my solution for the x value is -7. So again, if I put -7 here, -7 here, this side will simplify to -49 as well. On number 3, this does have a distributive property. I'm going to start you and then let you finish. So remember, when you distribute, you're going to have to say 5 times x, which is 5x, and 5 times this is a -2, which is -10. And then I would like you to finish that one. Variables on both sides. So when we have variables on both sides, we want to get it to look like this. So we need to move our variables to one side. And when we do that, we tend to want to move this smaller. So we'll make a note of that. Move variables to one side. About 95% of the time, you're going to want to move the smaller one. There are a handful of cases when that's not going to work, but most of the time. So let's look and see what that might look like. So unlike the ones on the top, you can see now I have a -2x and a +4x. They are on opposite sides of the equals. Whenever we cross the equal, we have to do the inverse operation. So I'm going to ask myself, I have -2x and a +4x. Well, the -2x is smaller. If I move this smaller one, then I have a positive coefficient of x, which makes multiplying and dividing a lot easier. You don't have to worry about all of your rules, which is why we move this smaller. So if I have a -2x on this side and I'm going to move it over here, I need to do the inverse, which is add 2x. And remember, what you do on one side, you always do on the other. So now I have 15 is equal to 6x plus 39. And now this looks very nice. It is a two-step equation like we've solved for several years now. I can do the inverse of addition, subtraction. And keep in mind, these are different. So we're going to subtract. So 9 minus 5 is 4, and 3 minus 1 is 2, and I have more negatives. And then undo or inverse multiply divide. A positive divided by a negative is a negative. So my solution for this particular equation is -4, meaning I can put that here. I would get 8 plus 15 is 23. I would get -16, and a positive 39 is also should be the same, but we're just going to double check 23 as well. So that means we did it correctly. On number 5, you'll notice this has got a couple of steps. We have collecting like terms, and we have variables on both sides. So just like our steps that we wrote down in our journal, collecting like terms is before we move anything. So I'm going to go ahead and rewrite my left. 10x minus 4x is 6x. And now I can look at, okay, I have 6x's, I have 13x's. 6x's is smaller, so the inverse, if it's a positive, is to subtract. 7x minus 5 equals 37. And these last two steps, again, same as what we've always done. 42, 7x divided by 7, x equals 6. I would like you, we've talked about the distributive property on number 3, so I would like you to try number 6 as well. 3 and 6, I'm going to ask you to submit that answer on the Google form, but I do want to go back to these summaries since we've seen them now. So in summary, for this top piece, collecting like terms, so when you have variables or integers, because it could be regular numbers, or both, meaning multiple, like on number 2, where we had to collect like terms on both. On the same side, of the equals, you must combine the like terms before you do the inverse or opposite operations to solve. Okay, so just like up here, we collected like terms, then we could do step 4 or 5. So down here, with variables on both sides, and summary is, when you have a like variable on both sides of the equals, then you must move all variables, all like variables, to one side by doing the inverse, and that will always be an addition, subtraction, inverse operation. So we're going to practice this in class when you come in tomorrow. If you have any questions, let me know. Make sure you hit submit on the form.